Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you my preview of the West Ham Wolves game. A very important game because if we win it we're more likely to stay up, get a good bit of momentum and continue on. If we lose it we're more likely relegated because it is Wolves at home, who have beaten us twice already this season, once in the Carabao Cup and once in the Premier League, both at home. So this is important for us to get a victory because we cannot give 6 points and the Carabao Cup victory to Wolves. It was under different circumstances though. Obviously when those games happened, the first one was under Graham Potter, the second one was under Nuno Espirito Santo. However, the January signings we made weren't in the squad yet, and it was very, the team was crap. That's what it was. It was just not a good squad. Juff and Wan-Bissaka away for AFCON. Tadibo wasn't available. I also remember this was during the time where Paqueta refused to play because he wanted to move back to Brazil. So we had a very thin squad that lacked belief. We went to Molineux in the Premier League and just got absolutely done in. So we have to attack this with a different mentality. And we are coming off a game against Leeds in the FA Cup where we were rubbish for the first 45 minutes. We were average for the second half. And then in the added time, we became incredible. And we took it to them in extra time. But we just missed out on penalties. But hopefully we can take belief from that. And as I said earlier, this is really important for us. We have to kick on from here. We have to perform at a certain level that allows us to have that belief going forward, because we do have some difficult games coming up. Now, when you look back at the relegation run-ins that were a thing a few weeks ago, I believe we've got 2 of our 3 most difficult fixtures out of the way, that being Man City and Aston Villa. But we have to win the easy games. You know, we didn't get anything from the Aston Villa game. We were very poor. Luckily, we came back from the international break with a bit of fight, with a little bit of determination. Once we went back to our system that has worked under Nuno, we went for a midfield of Fernandes, Magassa and Potts, and it just didn't work against Leeds, so I have no want to see that game without spoiling it. I think it's a different Wolves team that we faced twice and lost against, which doesn't really fill me with confidence, because the Wolves team we faced both times was rubbish. It wasn't a good Wolves team. So now go up against a Wolves team that have got results, most recently against teams like Aston Villa, who we couldn't do anything against, and also Liverpool. It does worry me a little bit, and they are different under Rob Edwards. They do have a little bit of belief. I think it's more on an individual basis. I think it's not really for the team, because they're not really fighting for anything. Wolves do. They're going down. But I think Rob Edwards has instilled a belief in individuals that you can go on, you can perform, and you can show what you can really do. Potentially get a move back in the Premier League. That's what they want to do. I don't really know. I think to believe that you're going to keep all your players going into next season is not going to be in Rob Edwards' mindset. I just can't foresee that. So for them, it's just keep performing, keep trying to get results, and there have been some memorable results to them. Whereas Nuno, it has to be all about staying up. You know, we've seen quotes from Jean-Claude Tadibo about how the West Ham players want to do it not only for themselves, not only for the team, but also for the staff. Because if West Ham get relegated, obviously jobs will be lost. So to see that is really important. I think again, it comes down to mentality, and mentality is the one that's going to get us out of this, because there is no extra quality to find in the squad for West Ham. You know, we're in April now, we got 1 month left of the fixtures really, and we have to just keep building. And we also have a clean slate, because the good news about this game is that everyone is basically back fit. Mavropanos is no longer serving concussion protocol. Apparently Callum Wilson, Somerville and Tadibo are all looking good to return, which does basically give us a full deck of cards for Nuno to assess and to decide who he wants to put in the team. And I do think it is an easy squad to choose, bar one position. Now again, is it different for Wolves? I don't think so. I think they, as a group of individuals, can keep playing well. They've made some really interesting January signings as well, like getting Angel Gomez in was a strange one, but they've managed to pull out results. So what I really hope Nuno doesn't do is overcomplicate things. I think he's in a position now where he can just go with what works and not try new things, because we're not in a position to try new things. You know, we're not a Liverpool or we're not a Everton or a Brentford that are in that battle for Europe. We're in a relegation scrap where we can't really afford to change things around. You know, we have to die by the sword effectively. So when it comes to picking the team, it's not really going to be too surprising for who I go with. I think it has to be a really easy option, which is Hermansen in goal. I don't know how Areola's doing. That wasn't really brought up at the press conference. Apparently there's just a lot of fatigue in the team, but Areola wasn't mentioned, so I assume he's fine. But I would still stick Hermanson in because he's better with distribution, and that's what we need in our current moment. Juff, for me, on the left. We've got 3 really good centre-backs, which being Tazazi, Kilman and Mavropanos all being available. I don't want to see us revert to a back 3 to, facilitate that. We don't need to. This is Wolverhampton. So I'm going to go with Tazazi. I'm going to go with Mavropanos. I feel bad for Tadibo because he has been brilliant, but I just think that pairing has worked really well for us, and it's been the pairing where we gain the most clean sheets. Right back. This is a tough one because although Aaron Wan-Bissaka is brilliant, I would suggest putting in Kyle Walker-Peters because I think Kyle Walker-Peters has been more consistent. So I don't know. I am going to stick Walker-Peters in because I think although Wan-Bissaka has a higher ceiling, put in higher performances, I think you get a more consistent performance on Kyle Walker-Peters. So I'm actually going to go Walker-Peters at right back. But if you told me you wanted to switch any of those 3, that being Tazazi, Mavropanos and Walker-Peters around, I certainly wouldn't be angry at you for that or even question why you want to do it. So for me in the midfield, it's easy. Fernandez, Souček are the 2 I would go with just because it works and I don't want to change it. I don't think Potts or Magassa have done enough to really stake their claim into being in the team. What I would say is, if you offered to put in Mahamadou Kante in this role, I wouldn't be mad at it. But I don't know where he goes. Is he further forward? Is he deeper? The issue with Kante is because we've only seen him in very small cameos. It's hard to know where he features. But for me, I think these 2 is the right option. Somerville on the left, Jared Bowen on the right, and your front 2 being Pablo and Tati Castellanos. It has to be, right? Like, is there any other option than that? Probably not. Adama Traore performed really well against Leeds, but you can't drop Somerville or Bowen. So who are you going to drop to facilitate? Maybe you could put Pablo off, put Bowen up top, which would allow Traore on the right. But then it kind of gives us no cards to play on the bench. And I do think sometimes Nuno is a victim of just not having many backup plans. I think the only backup plan we have as a team is to go to 3 at the back, which luckily now won't involve Max Kilman. I don't want to see him as part of this team. But I would suggest that going for Pablo is the better option. And having Bowen as a right winger and not a striker. Only because I think Bowen works best on the right. He's very solid in whatever role you want to give him, but I just think he works better on the right. You got Pablo up top, and you can have Bowen run into these areas. You can have Bowen, do a lot of going inside. We've seen Castellanos go out wide as well. Pablo just runs about sort of in this area here. So there is options to have, but I think this is the best one. Stick what works. Certainly for me though, if you're going to make any changes, Kante and Traore are in the mix, as well as any of our defence. It's kind of interchangeable. But yeah, I think that's overall the squad. I don't really want to see us make any other adjustments. Now, how confident am I feeling? It's tough to know because it depends what West Ham team comes out. We have moments where it's the West Ham team that performed really on the extra time against Leeds, or you get the West Ham team that came out against Aston Villa. I don't really know what the difference is, because you could say it's not going 4-4-2, but having 4-4-2 as your only default working formation isn't great. When you have no versatility in a Premier League team, it doesn't really bode well. And I think you have to look at Nuno and his team and go, well, if this doesn't work, what are you going to do? Because I think right now the answer is Freddie Potts. What I would say is if you do want to revert to a midfield 3, you whack Mahamadou Kante in there. I think he is by far probably our most up for the fight. I don't know what it is with Potts and Magassa. I made a video about Freddie Potts and I really think he could work at West Ham. I really believe in his future. But I don't want to see him in this game. I don't want to see Magassa in this game because when they were on the pitch, they both stunted us so much. And I felt so bad for Mateus Fernandes in particular because he had to basically run the midfield. He had no other options with him. He had nobody else to really help him. And we were just getting outrun by Leeds. And there's no disrespect to Leeds, by the way. I think they played a really good game. But we have to be better than the teams around us. And Leeds is one of them. Wolves is a team below us. So we have to outplay them. There's no negotiation here. And I think for Nuno, he has to get this right. I'm not saying he's going to get sacked either way. It's too late for us to sack a manager now. Who's going to come in and help us? No one. It's not even a possibility. It's do or die. But in terms of Nuno sticking around next season and hopefully staying in the Premier League, he has to get this right. I'm happy he's got Paco Jimenez with him now. I'm happy that he's got a full deck of cards. And realistically, the onus is all on Nuno and the players now. There's no mitigating factor yet. Obviously, things can happen in the days before to say, you have everything you need to win this game. So go out and do it. You got the London Stadium, Friday night. It should be buzzing. We tend to do better under the lights. So, as far as Nuno's concerned, he has nothing that he can say in a post-match press conference, we couldn't do this because X. He can't do that. I think that's the first time in a while he's had that, obviously, with a lot of injuries and, tiredness. And then we had Wan-Bissaka stuck in Congo for a few days, so we couldn't use him. But this is the time now where we have to just go for it, because the games are going to come thick and fast. The belief in the fan base will be, switching left, right and centre based result to result. So get the win, get the belief in the fan base. And if we win this game, because we're the first game of the game week, we will go out the relegation zone. I think we've been out the relegation zone now for about 8 minutes since we've been in it. That's because Nottingham Forest got a draw against Man City. So get the belief in the fan base, get the belief in the players, show them that we're out of that bottom three, and maybe make them believe that something can happen here, because I do believe that Leeds are in trouble now with 3 injuries, and a few of them look longer term than others. Tottenham might be without Mohamed Kudus now for longer, which, as someone that's no longer a fan of Mohamed Kudus, I'm happy about. As someone that's not a fan of Tottenham, I'm happy about. Does it suck for him? He's missed out on the World Cup? Sure. But you have to look at those factors as inspiration, as motivation to go, we can do this. And that's what I want to see on Friday. That's what I want to see tomorrow. That's what I want to see those players leave, the dressing room, go out on that pitch and show that they believe we can do it. Because if they don't, the fan base ain't going to care. The tensions between the stadium and the club is already bad enough. You put some bad performances in, it's not going to go well. And we really need our home to be a home for these next few weeks. We, especially against, when we're playing Arsenal and especially when we're playing against Leeds, those games have to mean something. But they've got to get the crowd on side, and it's very difficult in that bowl to do it. So it's all on Nuno. So I'm going to say West Ham win this 3-1. I just don't just keep a clean sheet. I think Wolves are quite good to get a goal, but I do think if we can get on the front foot early, I think Somerville being back is a massive plus. I could see us getting 3 goals. I'm going to say Pablo gets his first goal, but that's baseless. That's just me saying, wouldn't that be a nice moment if? But more importantly, what do you guys think in the comments down below? Please do let me know. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all later. Take it easy, and bye-bye.